Have you ever felt like you're faking your life, like every smile is rehearsed, every goal borrowed, every moment slightly out of sync? You wake up, check your phone, scroll past people pretending they're okay. You pretend too, you say you're happy, but it feels hollow. You're successful, but something's missing. You're surrounded by people, yet deeply, profoundly alone, and maybe, just maybe, you're starting to suspect that everything you were taught about life, happiness, and success was a carefully constructed lie. Have you ever noticed how the world applauds your obedience, not your awareness? From the moment you open your eyes each day, you're thrust into a rhythm you didn't create. You check your notifications before you check in with yourself. You go to work, say the right things, play your part, and no one questions it. Because this is what we were taught life is: a routine of doing, producing, achieving. But deep down, somewhere beneath the surface, there's a quiet ache, a subtle whisper asking, is this it? The most terrifying prisons are the ones without visible bars, the ones made of invisible expectations, unspoken rules, and socially accepted delusions. The kind that make you believe you're free while slowly draining the life out of you. And perhaps the cruelest trick of all is that they make you complicit. You follow the rules. You repeat the mantras. You try to be what you're told a good person is. Be nice, be busy, be grateful, but don't ask questions, don't slow down, don't step outside the frame, because once you do, you begin to see what most people spend their entire lives avoiding, that much of what we call normal is deeply unnatural, that our institutions, schools, jobs, even some relationships, don't nourish us, they numb us, and that what passes for a successful life often looks more like a slow, quiet death. We've been taught that questioning the system makes you ungrateful, that wanting something more is a luxury, but maybe it's not a luxury, maybe it's a signal, an inner rebellion from the part of you that refuses to go numb. That ache you feel, it's not weakness, it's a warning, a whisper from your buried self saying, you weren't born for this cage. Bonhoeffer saw it coming. He said the greatest threat to society wasn't malice, it was stupidity. Not stupidity as in lack of intelligence, but as in the refusal to think critically, a kind of passive, willful blindness that spreads through cultures like a disease. People stop questioning, they start conforming. They follow leaders not because they believe, but because it's easier to obey than to confront discomfort. And you might think, that's not me. I think for myself. But look closer. How many of your goals are actually yours? How many of your fears were passed down, embedded in you before you had the chance to choose? How many times have you agreed to something just to keep the peace? It's not your fault. The system is built to keep you too distracted to notice your own entrapment. But once you notice, once you feel the weight of that invisible cage, you can't unsee it, and that's where real freedom begins. Not when everything changes externally, but when something inside you refuses to keep pretending. When you choose truth over comfort, presence over performance, awareness over approval, the moment you see the cage for what it is, you begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange emptiness after achieving something you thought would finally make you whole. You reached the milestone, got the job, fell in love, bought the thing, whatever it was. And for a brief moment, everything shimmered with meaning, but then, almost too soon, it faded, and what was left, a vague hollowness, a new craving, another goal to chase. It's not that you're broken. It's that the system you live in is designed to keep you chasing. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill asterisk. No matter how much you accomplish, how much you earn, how much pleasure you experience, your brain adjusts. The excitement wears off, and you return to baseline. The promotion, the praise, the purchase, all become normal, and suddenly you're not satisfied anymore. You're restless again. This isn't a glitch in the system. It's the system itself. Modern society has turned happiness into a product, a thing to be bought, optimized, hacked. We read self-help books, listen to motivational podcasts, track our sleep, our steps, our serotonin, all in the name of a feeling we can never quite hold. Because we've been sold a version of happiness that's external, performative, and fleeting, and it starts early. We're told do well in school so you can go to a good college. Go to a good college so you can get a good job. Get a good job so you can buy a house, find a partner, start a family. And then what? Retire and hope you were one of the lucky few who actually lived . We keep chasing an image of happiness that someone else designed. A checklist that keeps growing but never satisfies. And the more we chase, the more we lose touch with what actually matters. Connection, presence, self-awareness. We scroll through curated feeds of smiling faces and beautiful lives, comparing ourselves to people who are just as lost as we are, but better at hiding it. We numb ourselves with dopamine hits, likes, notifications, new purchases, endless distractions. But real joy, real fulfillment, those don't come wrapped in a box or filtered through a screen. They come in stillness, in meaning, in choosing something deeper than comfort. But depth is inconvenient. It takes time. It asks us to sit with discomfort, to confront our wounds, to ask hard questions like, what am I running from? Whose approval am I chasing? If nothing external could validate me, what would I live for? That's the kind of happiness no one can sell you, because it isn't flashy, and it doesn't make anyone rich. It's the quiet kind, the kind you grow into, the kind that doesn't depend on outcomes, but on alignment. On living in a way that honors your values, your truth, your soul. The world doesn't want you to know this, because a person who is truly content is a person who can't be controlled. And maybe that's why real happiness is so rare. Not because it's impossible, but because it's inconvenient . Imagine this, you've lived your whole life in a cave, not a dark, cold one, but a comfortable one, warm, familiar. Everyone around you lives there too. You've never questioned it because why would you? This is how things are. This is how things have always been. You spend your days watching shadows on the wall, shadows that you and everyone else believe are real. You talk about them, you build your identity around them, you argue over whose shadow is better, and it all feels so normal until one day something cracks. You see a sliver of light where there shouldn't be. And with it, a question, what if there's more than this? That question is dangerous. It's the same one Plato warned us about over 2,000 years ago in his allegory of the cave. He told the story of people chained in darkness, mistaking shadows for reality. When one of them escapes and sees the real world, the sun, the trees, the truth, he returns to free the others, but they don't thank him. They hate him. They reject him. They would rather kill him than face the disorienting terror of truth. Because truth demands change, and change is terrifying. You think the cave is just a metaphor, but look around, the cave is your algorithm. It's the news cycle, the culture wars, the highlight reels. It's the need to appear okay even when you're unraveling. It's the curated version of you, the one you sculpt for approval. It's the silence you keep to avoid confrontation, the dreams you downsize to avoid ridicule. We are still chained, only now the chains are invisible, and worse, we've grown attached to them. We say we want freedom, but what we really want is safety, familiarity, certainty, because freedom asks us to see things we'd rather not, our complicity, our cowardice, our conditioning. And once you see you can't go back, the shadows stop working, the small talk starts to ache, the masks become suffocating, escaping the cave isn't glorious, it's not a highlight reel, it's lonely. It's disorienting, it's a grieving process. You grieve the comfort of not knowing, you grieve the ease of belonging, you even grieve the old version of yourself, the one who used to be fine playing along. But slowly your eyes adjust. You begin to see the world not as you were told it was, but as it is messy, complex, beautiful, brutal, real, and in that reality, something sacred happens. You begin to feel alive. Not comfortable, not certain, but awake, and that aliveness, that's the first taste of actual freedom. But beware, When you return to the cave, when you try to share what you've seen, don't expect applause. Expect resistance, expect confusion, expect rejection, because people don't want the truth handed to them. They want the illusion maintained. They want the lights dimmed. They want the shadows back. And that's why so many people stay in the cave forever. Not because they're weak, but because they're afraid. When did you first learn who you were supposed to be? Not asterisk who you are asterisk, but who you were asterisk expected asterisk to become. It started before you could speak. You were wrapped in blue or pink, called brave or sweet, told what was acceptable to feel, to want, to dream. You were given a name, a culture, a flag to pledge to, beliefs to inherit, not chosen, assigned. And you accepted them because you were a child, because acceptance meant safety. But now you're older and something doesn't fit. There's a tension in your chest when you're alone, a quiet voice that asks, is this really me? Or just a costume I never took off? Friedrich Nietzsche once said, asterisk, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, asterisk, because the tribe doesn't care about your truth. It cares about your obedience. It wants you to color inside the lines, to believe what it believes, to fear what it fears. Not because it's evil, but because it's scared. It survives by sameness and difference. That's dangerous, so we adapt. We adjust our tone in different rooms. We hide parts of ourselves to fit in. We internalize rules we never agreed to. We say things we don't mean just to avoid the sting of exclusion. And it works. You get the nods, the likes, the job, the partner, the applause. But slowly you begin to disappear. Because every time you betray a part of yourself to be accepted, that part recedes. It gets quieter. It doubts itself. And eventually, you reach a point where you can't tell the difference between your real desires and your learned ones. Are you ambitious, or afraid of being ordinary? Are you kind, or terrified of being disliked? Are you spiritual, or just longing for control in a chaotic world? We like to think of identity as this stable, solid thing. But really, it's a collage, stitched together from what we were told, what we absorbed, and what we feared would happen if we didn't comply. And unless you step back and asterisk look at it asterisk, you'll mistake the collage for your core. You'll defend ideas you never examined. You'll cling to roles that are killing you. You'll stay in places where your soul is starving because you've been taught that belonging is worth any price. But what is the cost of staying hidden? What do you lose by being liked? You lose your voice. You lose your edge. You lose the chance to live a life that is asterisk actually asterisk yours. And that is a tragedy disguised as maturity. Real growth isn't adding more to your identity. It's peeling it back. It's unlearning. It's standing in front of the mirror and asking, who am I when no one's watching? Who am I without the fear, without the mask? Most people never ask. Because asking means risking what little comfort they have, but not asking means never meeting the person you were born to be. Look around. Everyone's moving fast, always busy, always building. They call it ambition. They call it success. But if you look closely, it's starting to look a lot like exhaustion. We live in a culture that worships productivity and calls it purpose. You're taught to grind, to hustle, to prove yourself. Sleep less, work more, achieve, 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 because only then will you be worthy. Only then will you matter. But beneath the glamorized chaos is something much darker, a quiet desperation to feel enough, to finally arrive somewhere that doesn't feel like survival dressed up in luxury. Niccolo Machiavelli once wrote that power is preserved not by truth, but by illusion. And today's illusion is this: you are only valuable if you're asterisk doing asterisk something. We've been sold the lie that our worth is measured in output, that rest is laziness, that stillness is weakness, that slowing down means falling behind. But behind what? Behind asterisk whom asterisk, and more importantly, toward asterisk what asterisk? You weren't born to be a machine. You weren't built to live in meetings, notifications, and deadlines. You weren't designed to be available 24/7. grinding yourself into dust for some vague promise of one day when you'll be happy, one day when it'll all make sense, one day when you've made it. But here's the truth no one tells you. If your value is always tied to achievement, you'll never stop performing. Even your rest will be performative. Even your joy will have a deadline. We've confused performance with purpose. We measure life in promotions, not peace. We idolize the entrepreneur, the CEO, the winner, but never ask at what cost. The cost is our health, our presence, our relationships, our sense of self asterisk, and still we chase it, because the alternative, slowing down, saying no, stepping away, feels like failure in a world addicted to motion. We're terrified of stillness, because stillness is a mirror, and most of us are afraid of what we'll see if we stop long enough to look asterisk. But what if silence isn't empty? What if rest isn't weakness? What if the version of success you've been chasing is slowly killing you? Not with a bang, but with a dull, constant erosion of your aliveness. And what if success isn't the life that gets you the most applause, but the one that costs you the least of your soul? You don't need to earn your worth. You don't need to chase yourself into oblivion to prove something to people who are too busy proving themselves to even notice. You're allowed to stop, to question, to walk away from the race entirely, because maybe the real power isn't in winning a broken game. Maybe it's in refusing to play it at all. Here's the truth you don't want to hear: freedom isn't beautiful at first. It's brutal, because the moment you choose to wake up to really live on your own terms, something inside you breaks, and something else begins. Most people think awakening feels like bliss, but it doesn't. It feels like grief for all the years you spent pretending, grief for the dreams you buried to make others comfortable, grief for the time, the energy, the self you handed away without knowing the cost. It hurts, and that hurt is necessary. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain, because pain is a signal. It tells you, you're finally touching the truth. And the truth is, you've been asleep, not because you're lazy or weak, but because being awake in this world is hard, because autopilot is easier than introspection, because being numb is easier than being real. But that numbness, it leaks into your relationships, into your work, into the way you look at yourself in the mirror and wonder, what am I even doing? That question, that's the crack. That's where light starts to pour in, and once it does, you can't unsee it. You start noticing how much of your life is built around pleasing, performing, protecting. How often you say yes when you mean no. How often you smile while your soul clenches inside your chest. You realize how loud the world is, how addicted it is to distraction, and how true silence terrifies people, because in that silence the truth returns, and the truth asks things of you. It asks you to leave people, to disappoint expectations, to sit in rooms alone while everyone else dances to a music you can no longer hear. It asks you to feel the fear and keep going anyway, to step into the unknown without a script, to trust your own voice even when it shakes. And that's terrifying, because you will lose things. You'll lose the comfort of being understood. You'll lose the illusion of being liked by everyone. You might even lose relationships, careers, entire versions of yourself. But what you gain is everything you were always searching for in the first place. Not comfort, but clarity. Not approval, but integrity. Not noise, but presence. You stop living for applause and start living for alignment. You stop chasing and start choosing, and the world won't clap for this. It won't trend. It won't get 1,000 likes, but that's the point, because true freedom is quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't sell. It just is and the people who find it, they're not louder, they're not shinier, they're just real. You'll recognize them by their peace, by their eyes that no longer flinch when silence comes, because they've faced it. And on the other side of that silence, they found themselves. Right now, something in you is stirring, not a thought, something deeper, an ache, a pulse, a knowing you're standing at a crossroads, two paths. One familiar, one unknown. The familiar path, that's the scroll, the routine, the rehearsed smile. It's the safety of your old identity, the mask that still fits even if it suffocates you. It's the predictable comfort of pretending, of blending in, of nodding along with a life you're quietly drifting away from. But the other path, it's quiet, still, unwritten. It doesn't offer applause or guarantees. It only offers the truth, and choosing that path, it's terrifying. Because it means walking away from who you've been. It means burning the script you've been following your whole life. It means facing the mirror and asking, what if I've built everything on a version of me that was never real? Most people will never ask that. Because it's easier to stay asleep. It's easier to say, I'm fine, even when you're falling apart. It's easier to be liked than to be authentic. To be busy than to be present. To be comfortable than to be free. But if you've listened this far, if your heart's beating faster right now, it means something in you is ready. Ready to stop lying to yourself. Ready to stop performing. Ready to stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be who you already are. And maybe you don't have the answers yet. Maybe you still feel lost, unsure, raw. Good, that's where it starts, because lost doesn't mean broken. Lost means you're finally refusing to follow someone else's map. It means you're starting to draw your own. So pause, right now, breathe. Ask yourself, what am I pretending not to know? Who am I becoming by default? What would I choose if I wasn't afraid? Not tomorrow. Not when you're ready, now, because this moment isn't just a video. It's a mirror, and maybe, just maybe, that ache inside you isn't something to silence. It's your soul, knocking, asking if you're finally willing to open the door. Not to something new, but to something ancient, something wild, something real. And the question isn't, are you ready? It's will you answer? So here's my challenge to you. Don't just think differently. Live differently. Refuse to be a character in someone else's story. Ask the hard questions. Sit in the stillness. Reclaim the silence, because maybe happiness isn't a destination. Maybe it's a byproduct of integrity, of living a life that's true. Even if it's hard, even if it's lonely, even if no one claps, because in a world addicted to comfort, the truest form of courage is choosing what's real. So now I ask you, what if everything you were told to chase is the very thing holding you back? Let that question haunt you. Let it change you.